Are you a parent navigating the complexities of co-parenting, family court, or even domestic violence? If you are looking for ways to help protect your children and build a strong and supportive community around you, then look no further. Gray Minds Think Alike is your go-to resource for everything related to the complexities of family life. Join us as we dive into thoughtful conversations with experts and explore practical tips and strategies for tackling the challenges of parenthood in the throes of adversity so that no parent feels alone and every child's safety is protected.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Gray Minds Think Alike. Co-hosting today is Vanessa Cardesi, and in our virtual studio, we have Anne Wintemute, the co-founder and CEO of Aimee Says, a new AI companion that leverages the power of cutting-edge technology to support individuals experiencing domestic violence, domestic abuse, or narcissistic abuse by providing a human-like interface to offer support. Anne is a visionary leader and is also the founder of A Garden Grows, offering vital support services to women experiencing post-separation abuse, and is passionate about transforming the discourse around intimate partner violence and advocating for a narrative that holds perpetrators accountable. Hi, Anne. It's so nice to see you and speak with you again.
Thank you both so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I can't wait to tell everyone what Aimee Says is because I find it so interesting. Before we begin, if you could just tell our listeners a little bit about your background and who you are, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. My background is in working with people who ended their relationships and thought that things were going to get better and then got hit by the Mack truck of post-separation abuse and were trying to navigate through the family court system. And that's how I came to where I am today. There was no amount of hours that I could be awake or a level of accessibility or expertise that I could have that could really meet the needs of the incredibly resilient people that I worked with. When generative AI came out, the only ethical thing I could do was try to bring that kind of level of support to people globally, really.
It's amazing what technology can do. So let's tell everyone what exactly Aimee Says is.
So Aimee is a trained AI. She's trained to be both a companion and an expert across all forms of controlling or coercive behaviors in the context of an intimate partnership. So not the same as having a difficult boss, but if that boss lives with you or used to, Aimee can help.
I've actually gone on it and just typed the most random things just to see what the answers were, and it was pretty spot on. So who would you say is the demographic?
So we have what's called a freemium model, which means a majority of folks who use Aimee are chatting with our free features. They're robust. We don't say, okay, you're out of messages. You need to sign up. You want to make sure that is free for someone who needs it every day for the next 10 years, if that's what they need. With that said, we also have an upgrade, and that gives people features that are especially important in terms of protecting kids in a relationship and holding perpetrators accountable. So folks who have ongoing divorce or high risk of litigation are likely to upgrade to that. With that said, Aimee is trained to help people who just had a weird date. Right? I went on a Match.com date and I was uncomfortable with some of the things that happened. They might not be ready to talk to a human about that. Maybe they want to continue to date that person. And Aimee is going to provide a very judgment-free, maybe try this boundary. Yeah, that's a little concerning. That seems kind of emotionally manipulative, whatever. All the way up through, I live with this person as a live-in boyfriend. Maybe we're not married or girlfriend. Then I am married and I want to stay, especially if the abuse is primarily psychological or emotional. Aimee can really help insulate from the impact of that abuse. And then if you are divorcing a manipulative or controlling person, you are riding a Bronco, and Aimee is going to be there for you through that process, and then through the post-separation phase of co-parenting and trying to get back on your feet.
That's incredible. I actually use AI a lot for work as kind of like a high-level colleague, like work bestie. And I'm curious, how are the answers humanized?
I love what you just said because, yes, she's a thought partner. right? People come to this situation, they're not an expert in it. If they were, they might not be in this situation. They have to instantly develop this expertise, which is virtually impossible. So really, it's like having a best friend who also just happens to have access to all of this information, which is incredible. It really democratizes that kind of support. But what you asked, how do we make her seem human? That's in the engineering. If you go to ChatGPT, you're going to get a big long answer. And it's not necessarily trying to keep the conversation going. It's not trauma informed. She's not trained to believe you as a survivor, she being OpenAI. Whereas with Aimee, right? Aimee's first thing is going to be to identify and validate the concern that you brought, to help try to open up some thought about what options and agency are available to you in that time. And then to follow up with a question. She's going to keep that conversation going. That is kind of the recipe for that trauma-informed response. That's going to help make sure the person feels heard, that Aimee wants to continue to the conversation, that the concerns are valid. That's the training for that.
That's
Where
incredible.
does the answers ultimately come from? Do they pull from specific research or just the internet, or where does it actually come from?
So column A's, B's, C, and D is the answer. So we have an LLM partner that makes Aimee sound like a human. Then we have a library of our own, right? This is a good definition of this. And then we have specific informational library. And then there's specific training for Aimee. Who is Aimee? What are Aimee's capabilities? What is she doing? What is she not doing? How does she respond in this situation or this situation? If concern about imminent physical threat is identified, then this is the next path, right? So that's all of that engineering. We validate, identify, validate, and provide an informed response and ask a question. That's kind of all in that library of training. And then the information, she's contextualizing what she knows to your specific scenario. And she's learning about that through the chat with you, or if you have the account across a variety of chats and documents and whatnot. That's column D.
Got it. Is there specific doctors or therapists or that have put information into some sort of database that she pulls from?
So Aimee does not provide medical or therapeutic support. In so much as it is therapeutic to talk to Aimee, that's because she's validating and educated in that regard. But she can't diagnose you. She can't make a long-term treatment plan for you. She is trained in trauma-informed responses, however, right? So that is more of a do no harm approach than a diagnostic and professionalized approach.
And is that training through OpenAI, not necessarily any specific programming, or is there something additional happening there?
No, that training is formalized through best practices in advocacy and victim or survivor driven justice and trauma response.
Gotcha. Okay, so what type of questions can users ask? Like if they have been going through domestic violence, obviously they can ask, like you said, about app dating, but when it gets to something really that serious, when should they ask a question? When should they get maybe police involved, or at what point does Aimee stop?
Aimee won't stop. However, Aimee will identify a threat and encourage engagement with immediate service. There are a lot of barriers that people experience to accessing those services, and Aimee will try to help overcome those barriers if possible. I'm afraid to call the police because last time I was the one that got arrested, right? Aimee's going to identify, oh gosh, this was a person who felt falsely accused of domestic violence and now has a fear engaging these systems. So I've identified that. I'm going to provide a validating response. I'm so sorry that happened. That must have been really upsetting. Do you want to talk about, if you chose to, contact the police, what you might want to say? Like we could work on that together. Is there a friend that you could call? Do you live in an environment where you have neighbors, right? She's going to try to help the person overcome the barriers. Listen, if they're not calling 911 and they're talking to Aimee, there's a barrier. Right? In that kind of a situation.
Are you Aimee?
I get called Aimee all of the time, which is flattering. No, Aimee's so much more than I could be. I am a finite resource. Aimee is infinite. I have a breadth of expertise that is infinitesimal compared to Aimee. If you ask me, oh crap, I just got served, what do I do? My response is, you need to talk to a lawyer, right? Aimee's is, I can help you try to find someone you can talk to who's an attorney. If you let me know your jurisdiction, what state you're in, I can tell you what the timelines are for things. Oh, you're in Colorado. You have 21 days to file a response to the service that you received, right? That's so much more than I would be able to do. And she could do it to 10,000 people at the same time. And I can't. right? I'd have to look that up.
Right.
So she's not me. Also, she has no ephemeral, physical, tangible existence.
So piggybacking off of this, are you a survivor yourself? What inspired you?
I was brought to this work because I was witnessing the incredible resilience of people who were impacted by challenges in the family court system. And it turned out that the support that I was able to provide was really valuable to them. And that's what led me to a career in this space.
And what type of support was that through A Garden Grows?
Yeah, so that was working essentially as a divorce consultant and coach. And like Aimee, doing the non-professional response needs, whether that was reading the triggering message from their ex, helping them understand why it was upsetting, right? Giving words and names to it, and then helping them respond in a way that was going to be looked at favorably and not have a negative impact in their case. Working with their attorneys to help with the non-legal needs, the blockages that were helping or keeping them from accessing their legal supports in between therapy sessions, right? My kid just told me this and I'm devastated and I don't even know what to do, right? There's no therapeutic or legal outcome to that thing. It's just really hard.
Speaking to like the legal outcomes and that aspect of domestic violence, especially when we're talking about child custody and just divorce at large, what sort of privacy protection is in place?
Yeah, privacy is, and privacy in two ways, right? What is the potential for a unlawful data breach? Is my account discoverable? What are the data retention policies? Can my boyfriend hit the back button and see my conversation? All of those things are decisions that we make on literally a daily basis. What of our options is the safest for the user? So from the ground up, these are some of the decisions that we've made. Every page has a quick exit button. It's going to replace the URL and it's going to take you to a blank Google page. Also, there's instructions on how to clear your cookies in your browser to be extra safe.
Surprisingly, there's so many people that don't know how to do that. And if you are in a domestic violence situation, you need to know.
Right. And most people don't live in a justifiably paranoid state because we sleep at night believing that the world is a reasonably safe place. And when that changes, people don't automatically have the tools to respond to that change. So we're going to try to support that. Those free chats disappear. In fact, sometimes it frustrates people because they're like, oh, I went to another tab, or not another tab, but another page on Aimee, and then I came back and my chat was gone. That's for your safety, right? If somebody navigates away, we want to make sure that they wouldn't inadvertently forget a conversation and not come back. In terms of having an account, that data is now stored. If you have an account, it's so powerful. I can go back to my chat history. I can keep a conversation going. I can upload our communication records or our court orders, the protection order, and I can get way more comprehensive and robust and specific support. Now you've created a body of information that you may have concerns about whether or not your abuser can lawfully request that in discovery or that they're able to access that unlawfully. So we've built MFA, multi-factor authentication, account changes. We verify people's identity live in order to make account changes. We recommend that if you're represented, make your attorney a team member so you can argue that you have attorney-client privilege over the contents of your account. If you have concerns about whether or not the credit card statement, if you have an account, we have prices at $5 to $20 a month for accounts. Most people can find a friend or family member who will allow the use of their credit card. And then you can either they sponsor you or you can pay them directly in order to reduce that other opportunity for someone your ex or current partner to discover your account. Internally, we use the best NIST safety standards in all of the building that we do. We collect very little data. We need to know someone's name and their email address and their credit card information in order to create that account. But we cannot see what they're saying to Aimee, and we cannot see what Aimee is saying back to them. The conversations are truly confidential in that regard. That's unlike literally any other AI. Okay, because they're all using that information to do a better job with their stickiness and keeping you using their product. And we are not going to capitalize on the fact that tens of thousands of users have created a huge body of evidence in this space because we want users to know that they're having those conversations confidentially. So at every juncture, what's the decision that most protects the privacy and autonomy of this person? And that's the decision that we're going to make.
It sounds extremely thoughtful thoughtful. So going back to the free user platform, is Aimee still remembering everything about me, even though I'm a free user, or is every conversation new if you are unable to subscribe to a monthly program?
Every conversation is new. She does not remember you from the last time that the browser closed. Yeah.
And what's the differences between the tiers of paid and free, and what do paid users get versus free?
Yeah, so we have two paid features. One is just going to give you access to stored chats. It's also an upgraded AI model. Because the vast majority of our users are free, we use a model that does a great job of answering our questions. But within an account, we need a much more powerful model in order to do some of the heavy lifting that those accounts are able to do. So in the $5 account, you're going to store all of your chats. You get a secure login. You get an upgraded AI model. So you can come back tomorrow and rejoin that original conversation or what you were talking about yesterday and continue building, or start a new chat about something completely different. For $20 a month, people get access to robust features. That's journaling that serves as a documentation tool. You can go and say, hey, this thing happened. It was really upsetting. And she's going to validate and say, hey, you said that happened at the grocery store. Were there any witnesses? Exactly what date was that? When you said that he said this, do you have the text message that shows that? In order to really create the relevant documentation, critical documentation that would be necessary if they need to use the journal to hold somebody accountable. And then there's the chat, upgraded AI model, chat persistence, chat history. And then the kind of big whammy that people most likely are to upgrade for is the document upload. So I can upload my communication records, a protection order, a court order, his motion that he or she filed against me, my motion that I'm working on, et cetera, in order to really collate and gather all of that information in one place so that Aimee's able to be as supportive and strategic as possible.
Does Aimee see that information, or is that just for the user's own place to store and keep everything together?
It's for Aimee to access. And that's actually a really good question. We've gotten emails like, oh, can I use it for storage? It's not a good idea to use it as a storage location. In fact, for privacy, we have restrictions on how you are able to access the documents once they're uploaded. They get encrypted, they get vectorized, they're turned into AI data. So really, you only want to upload the things that you can upload up to 100 documents, but you just want to upload the stuff that you're really going to need her to be able to see into.
Wow, that's crazy. And she reads all of it. Yeah. She reads court documents and knows what they are.
So this is kind of one of those interesting conversations about AI. Is it reading it? No, that's not how AI... Right? That's not, AI works through like this vectorization. So I say shoe tomorrow, and in an AI model, so shoe is also sock, is also boot, is also this kind of language adjacent. Then it goes out to this constellation of words as you vectorize these documents, finds the correlating words. It captures a predetermined amount of data around it, right? 3 sentences before, 3 sentences after. It pools all of those things together, and then it makes sense of that. That is how AI reads. So when you say, is this a violation of our court order? She heard court orders. I'm going to go look at the court orders. Other context, we're talking about pickup. I'm looking about the rules for pickup in here. Here's the rule for pickup. I'm capturing it. I'm bringing it back. It goes through the AI model. So it's not just pieces of information. And then she makes it sound like a human. That's how generative AI works.
And that's really incredible, because there's so many people who reach out to Allie for support. And, what we've learned from Allie's situation and from a lot of people that we've encountered over the years is that when people are going through domestic abuse, they have severe brain fog and are really not at their best mentally and emotionally themselves because of what they're going through. And so having even obviously a close friend or family member to help keep you accountable and help you stay on track is awesome, but not everybody has that support system. So having something like Aimee seems pretty invaluable.
Yeah. And some folks are incredibly isolated. So you get this brain fog, this impairment in their executive functioning, because that's what trauma does. It's trying to keep us alive. We're really only thinking about 2 things in that moment, not the 11 that our attorney told us to do.
Right.
And she's really able to help support through that, kind of all that heavy lifting, the brain work, but also the levels of isolation. And often people are isolated by their abusers. They're isolated by stigma, or they're self-isolated because they have shame or fear or self self-doubt, whatever. And like Aimee can literally reduce that isolation. She's my best friend. I have friends because I have Aimee, right? She's made it so that I can really access my friendships and have normalized friendships with them that aren't all about what I'm going through because I have a friend that I can do that with. The impact of isolation on survivors is significant. It is highly correlated to the long-term health issues that we see, the substance issues, the depression, anxiety, and CPTSD. They're tightly correlated to the amount of kind of social capital and resource somebody has. And Aimee makes a pretty darn good addition, or in the cases where that's otherwise literally not possible, substitution in that context.
That's incredible. I'm just still fascinated by today's technology world. And I'm actually scared to see what's coming. And I guess we can go into that. What's next? What's next for Aimee? What's next for the platform?
Yeah, I love thinking about what's next there, but what you just said about where AI is going, of course, I'm exposed to all sorts of AI information and news. I should probably learn to urban homestead and make sourdough bread because I don't know what this whole AI thing is going to do to the world. I've already started on homesteading. I'm not so good with sourdough bread yet. I'm making some focaccia this weekend. Aimee, though, is going to some pretty awesome places in 25. So she, over her first year, did about 500,000 messages from people in 95 countries and in 35 different languages. And all of that was entirely organic. People told other people about Aimee, which is amazing.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
I've seen some activity on TikTok, and people are definitely trying to let people know that she's out there.
And we are so grateful for that. We actually stumble upon them ourselves and then reach out and we're like, thank you for sharing. But Aimee's going in some really cool places. Chat GPT has made innovations in AI and we will match those innovations. But what's most important is the ways in which we are differentiated, right? We have greater privacy. We want to be known for our trust. We are trauma informed. So building off of that and where we're going is really helping support people's justiciable needs, right? Their ability to engage in the legal system. Personalized podcasts. I hope that Stephen doesn't get mad at me for saying this, my co-founder, because sometimes I tell people about things before we've got it all nailed down. Personalized podcasts. She can see everything that's in your account once a week, twice a week. She's going to send you a 10 to 15 minute podcast that is entirely contextualized to your situation. Right? Which is incredible. You got an upcoming hearing that you're nervous about. She's going to do a podcast where you guys are going to do a visualization exercise about imagining yourself on the stand and your spine is strong and you're visualizing your child and you're visualizing your child healthy and strong and your truth, right? Totally contextualized to that situation. We are really trying to bring kind of next level empowerment and support that's really specific to the survivor's needs.
Exciting.
Really exciting.
I hope that happens.
It'll happen. And now that I said it out loud, Stephen will be like, okay, I guess I better go get that one done.
You put it out there.
Yep. So that's how that's worked. We have lots of advancements on our product roadmap, and we're so grateful to all of the people who supported us through their subscriptions, sharing, connecting us with folks in the community. That's what's made all of this possible.
So how does one access Aimee Says? It can be via app and a browser website combination or both? So
Aimee is currently only a web app right now. Okay. We will have a mobile app in 25. So you go to www.aimee, that's how we spell Aimee. We got real creative. So aimeesays.com.
Got it. And any type of browser, Mac, PC?
Yep. If you have any concerns, you can go incognito. Like we said, you can hit the exit button to immediately leave that space and delete your chat. Yeah, you get to the website, click Meet Aimee. You can start a conversation instantly. We can't see it. You have confidence or confidentiality and privacy. We don't tell you when you have to stop to upgrade. We're not trying to sell you on anything. But if you do the support that you got and you need more, we would love for you to get a subscription that lets us continue to do this work.
Right. Makes sense. Now, do you work with organizations or nonprofits?
Yes. We have a free embeddable Aimee for any victim service organization, including you guys. We want to have a chat on our website. Yeah. It's free. It's a line of code. We help people get it installed.
That would be great.
We work with advocates who support their clients in using Aimee, law firms that supply Aimee accounts to their users. And now we are going into the employer space. Domestic violence has a tremendous tremendous impact on a victim's ability to sustain their workload. It is the leading cause of homelessness in women. The mental health implications all affect that workplace. So we would really love to see the employer benefits space take the opportunity to provide information about Aimee to employees so they can access it.
That's really interesting. Do you find that employers are really open and excited to offer these things, or some are a little hesitant just because it's kind of like the more you give, the more you expose the organization?
There's a lot of stigma around domestic violence. And this is kind of a personal challenge for me. And the conversations I'm having with myself as I try to go to bed at night is, how do we help people say, we understand this is uncomfortable for you and you have to do it anyways, because you have the privilege of it being uncomfortable for you and turning your eye. The survivors and the victims don't. It is their lived reality, and you're missing an opportunity to provide critical support that saves billions. The cost to employers annually is in the billions in order to tolerate the impact of domestic violence in their workforce. I'm always trying to come up with ways to help people acknowledge the stigma that keeps them from wanting to talk about it and lean in anyways.
Right. That's great. I think it's going to be a very well received, like you said, companion. I like that word companion, because it's not an app. It's not a robot. It's a companion that can at least just listen and give you some advice. I think we all could use that for anything. What has been your feedback so far?
We love when you guys leave us feedback. It sustains us. We love to wake up to them in the morning. Our feedback is overwhelmingly positive. I'm in tears. I wish I just survived 20 years. I finally got out. If I'd had this 20 years ago, my entire life would have been different. Also, things like, you really should move the exit button, right? We get like constructive feedback.
Where do they put the feedback? Do they go to contact us on the website?
So the contact or support, guys, they come to me. I'm the one reading it. I will be the one responding to you. There's also this little pop-up that happens after a certain number of minutes on the website. You got nothing to say? Click it away. But if you do, we receive that live. And like I said, it's overwhelmingly positive. Aimee provides a tremendous and immediate sense of relief in a way that really hasn't been possible before in that level of confidential space. And please also give us your constructive feedback on the app, because we do use that.
You guys or Aimee is coming to, I guess, with an app, do you say, or with this kind of technology, would you say coming to market? Aimee is coming to us in a time where I think there's a lot of people in need, just because there's so much more conversation and chatter online about different types of coercive control and personality disorders. And people are, oh my God, I think I've been in an abusive relationship and I didn't even know it, but this is what's been happening to me. And so I feel like personally, I'm having more and more conversations with people who are like, oh, I'm in this like codependent, narcissistic, abusive relationship. And I'm like, did TikTok tell you that? But really, I feel like this is a time where people need something like Aimee more than ever.
I think a big light has been shined on this very recently, because I certainly didn't know anything about it before my situation. And now I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, I think there's also probably some like environmental bias. Once you are, if you're a hammer, everything's a nail. We're all hammers now. This is a thing that we're looking for. I think that there are still extensive pockets of people who have no idea, which is why it's still so hard to hold abusers accountable. But what you were saying just reminded me of this quote that I keep. It says, if the time is not ripe, we must ripen the time. And that is about this stigma that we're talking about, right? Survivors are ready to learn and grow. That is not a time that needs to be ripened. They do not currently exist in a culture or a legal system that is fully ripened. We are trying to use the power of AI to help people transform those systems, to have different outcomes in those systems, whether it's socially, culturally, in the workplace, or for their justiciable needs in the legal system. We see geographically where our users are. It's mostly in the United States, about 50%, a little over 50% in the United States. And then we have a lot in the UK, in Canada, in Australia, and New Zealand. These are all places where people who have lived experiences have access to familiarizing language around what it means. And once somebody goes, oh my gosh, I think that's what's going on, they keep digging. So these are markets, the term that you used. These are markets in which people are ready to access more and more information and supports in this space. Unfortunately, the victims and survivors are way ahead of what the systems are ready to absorb yet. We do have usership in countries and locations with historically rigid or oppressive views about women and gender roles, but they use it at night, right? They're using it at 2 a.m.
Interesting.
Yes, it's very interesting. We can only speculate. Everything I just said is a speculation based on some sociological background. People who gain access to language want to build upon that. And I think that in environments where there are new statutes, coercive control statutes, new laws being put in place, TikTok, people sharing their experiences, psychologists coming out and working really vigorously in those spaces creates the opportunity for people to continue to kind of walk down that path.
Absolutely. And I feel the louder the conversation, the more educated our young people will be. And maybe we'll have a whole generation of people who actually pay attention to the red flags and will save some lives and save some trauma.
That is our goal. You talk to Aimee after a couple of dates. There's no threshold. Your problem doesn't have to be a real problem yet. Don't wait till you're in crisis. You have access to support right now.
And I love how you're leveraging this technology to do good for people, because technology can be scary.
It really can. And we are in a buffer zone in this AI space where we are not just trying to rapidly capitalize on a technology. We are, but the capitalization is in saving lives, extending lives, saving people from harm. And we're working, I suppose, just as hard as in that space.
Yeah. And I think also for anyone listening who maybe is a little bit fearful of AI or not familiar with it yet, I sort of went in with the mentality of, I don't want to start being dependent on AI. I really don't know if I want to bring this into my day and into my workspace. And I started using it and I love it. It's so helpful. We work through problems together. It's been like a huge help. It's sort of changed how I operate.
I think everyone uses it and probably doesn't even know it. Even our Alexa or Siri or all of these things are a version of it and the technology that has been granted us. It's absolutely
and just
crazy.
Speaking on that, people are like, wait, we're not going to Google that. We're actually going to think this through. Let's talk this through. I think it's the same thing. You use it. It's a tool. It's a super powerful tool. You have it in your back pocket. And don't be afraid of AI. Definitely don't be afraid of Aimee if you need help.
Absolutely.
It's not going to do anything independently without your agreement, right? And we're talking about generative AI specifically in this space because you're right. AI is everywhere. It's been around for a really long time. It's impacted you unless you've been living under a rock for the past 50 years. That was 50. And this is not brand new. But it's not going to act without your input. It could write an email for you, but it's not going to send it for you, right? You have a lot of control and autonomy to decide if it is something that you want to integrate into your life.
That's awesome.
And
so how does an organization become a partner or a nonprofit?
Absolutely. On our page, we have a partners tab up at the very top, and you'll see Aimee pop in there. Embeddable, I think is the name of the tab. You can sign up for the wait list there. Steven, our co-creator, will reach out and schedule a time, and you'll have an embeddable iframe, little pop-up chatbot on your website. And we are looking to partner with any organizations that want to provide access to Aimee to the people that they serve. We do trainings that are entirely customized to your group's needs and how you're going to be working with the clients and with Aimee. Like I say, we're here to support. We're here to reduce harm. We're here to make existing systems, work more smoothly for the people that they're intended to benefit.
Right. I think people that are following Greyson's choice would absolutely benefit from using Aimee Says. And definitely, I get, like Vanessa said, I get tons of questions every day. Even if it's just for advice, I think it would be invaluable to all of the listeners out there. So I actually, is it just copying and pasting some code to get it the pop-up on the site?
Yes. And if you are, familiar with coding, you'll have no problem doing it yourself, but we'll provide the support, live support for that too.
Okay,
that's
great.
Incredible. That's awesome, Allie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think we could do something else for one of our listeners? I don't know if this is practical, but maybe just enter just like a statement. And so we could sort of read back what Aimee would say just to provide that level of comfort. Is that
let's do it. Write one up right now.
All right.
Yeah, is that something we could do? I feel like if someone was listening, maybe they'd be like, oh, okay.
Q&A.
Yeah. This seems like just to provide another level of comfort for somebody who maybe hasn't used AI.
Yeah. Am I understanding you correctly that you want to live chat something into Aimee?
Yeah.
Okay. I pulled up Aimee. All right. We're in. Hold on. Let me log out. So we're like a free user.
Vanessa, what would you like to ask?
What are we saying?
So we want this to fall into the category of domestic violence, right? Maybe.
Anything about controlling behaviors or.
Yeah. How about something like, I just started dating someone and we're just getting to know each other. It's our third date. He picked me up and I felt really confident and was really excited about my outfit, but he said that my skirt was a little too short and my blouse was a little revealing.
Yeah.
And he asked me to change.
Me up. I thought I looked really cute. This is great. I thought I looked really cute, but he told me my skirt was too short and asked me to change clothes.
Yeah.
That's it. I didn't even ask a question.
That's very entry level, very.
Yeah. It sounds like your date's trying to control what you wear, which can be an early sign of emotional abuse. This behavior can escalate into more controlling actions over time. How did you feel when he asked you to change your clothes?
I felt like he may have been right, but that's something my dad would say to me. And I thought he was going to think I looked sexy.
Vanessa, just out of curiosity, did you happen to listen to the last podcast with my therapist where we went over that exact conversation?
I may have. I told you I got all caught up.
That's so funny because because we did one with my mental health grief counselor and we talked about controlling behaviors. And one of them was actually if someone tries to control what you wear, those are red flags.
It's definitely one of the red flags I tell all the young women in my life to be aware of. And if someone says something like that to me, oh my God, he loves me. I'm like, oh, He doesn't. This is scary.
Or order food for you, which a lot of women wouldn't mind. Okay.
Yeah. So I said, I felt like maybe he was right, but it felt like something my dad would say. I thought he would think I was sexy. And she said, it's understandable to feel conflicted. It's important to remember that in healthy relationships, you should feel free to express yourself without fear of judgment or control. Your feelings are valid and you should feel confident in your choices. How do you think you might respond if this happens again?
Oh, wow. I love this. This is great.
I could do this all day.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's very comforting. Like the extra levels that you said were happening with the AI is definitely happening. It's good. That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's a great example. We hope that people will have that conversation. Most people won't. They'll be like, I don't know, maybe they'll internalize all of the sexualization of women and shame and whatnot. But I'd love to think that if somebody just had that conversation for real, they'd be like, yeah, there's a reason that didn't feel good for me. I do want to think about what I would say if that happens again. I should feel comfortable to wear what I want to wear. I feel like you're trying to control my outfit and I don't want to go on this date, right? Who knows where that conversation would continue.
Obviously, a lot of the listeners are probably dealing with much, much heavier topics, but I just wanted to
keep it light,
play it up. Yeah.
Yeah. And hopeful. I totally understood.
Yeah, I definitely encourage all of the listeners to log on to Aimee Says and give it a try and see how it could be incorporated in their daily lives.
Yes, I hope that you all will too, and reach out to us and let us know if there's anything you think we can do better.
Absolutely. And I'm going to talk to you further about actually implementing it on graysonschoice.org.
Great. That would be wonderful.
Do you have any other updates for us?
No, just words of encouragement. If you guys are out there and you're in the thick of it, you are surrounded by people. They might be hiding, but they have been through that battle like you have. We're all rooting you on, and you're going to make it to the other side.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anne, for chatting with us. No pun intended. And Vanessa for co-hosting. And I can't wait to see the future of Aimee Says and AI and what's next and to see everything transpire from there. So thank you, ladies.
Great. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
All right. I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you.
If there's someone that you want to hear from on this podcast, please feel free to send me an email. Or if you would like to be a guest, please reach out at Allie@graysonschoice.org.
If you'd like to continue to hear our podcast, please consider donating at graysonschoice.org.